Welcome back, everyone. I am Jordan. Let's welcome the one and only, our founder and CEO, the legend, Stephen Balkam. We should have like the woo in the background, Leslie. Yay!
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you, Jordan.
You are also one of our big milestones, Stephen. You're the first dad to present on the podcast. Congratulations and welcome.
Wow. So we're now moms and dads off mute?
Parents off mute. There we go.
I'll take that.
So having you here is a full circle moment for a couple of reasons. One, because this was your idea. So thank you. The audience is probably very excited. Today, we're speaking to you as an expert, but also obviously as a dad. You raised your daughter before social media really took over. So you've got all sides of this, right? As a parent, as a founder and CEO, and as a listener as well. So I would love for you to just dive right in. What was it like raising your daughter before social media tech was really a part of your everyday life?
First of all, I'm the dad of two daughters, and I'm also now a grandfather. So I think we may have to stretch the title even further because I'm now watching my 1.5-year-old daughter interact with phones and things. And it is really, let's just call it interesting for the moment. Just say my older daughter lives in the UK and with my granddaughter, obviously, and my younger daughter lives here in just outside of DC. And it was my younger daughter that we had the particular journey with because she was born in the mid to late 90s and grew up at a time, well, the web was around, it was dial-up web, if you know what I mean.
The good old days.
The good old days. And actually, she refers to the good old days, where we would take her to the woods and, climb and do ropes and all this kind of stuff. And she's so grateful that she had that sort of pre-digital childhood, if you know what I mean. She now claims that she's not going to let her kids on to the internet until they're at least 16. And I just said, well, good luck with that. So anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. So her trajectory was one of, classic, childhood, running in the woods, making fires in the backyard, all that kind of stuff. And then she discovered Sims around the age of 7 or 8. You remember the game Sims and Sim City? It was a big deal in the early to mid 2000s. And she loved building houses and structures and little cities, and particularly the little people that would wander around and would need feeding and clothing and all the rest of it. And she would be up there for hours. And we were already, worried about screen time because she was so engaged in this game. Ironically, many years later, she got into commercial real estate. But there you go. You just never know where all this is going to lead. And then we launched FOSI in 2007, and she was 11 years old. And it was the dawn of the smartphone. In fact, the iPhone was launched a few months after we launched FOSI. And she kept bringing me images of this new phone. And Dad, I really want this. I really want to have one of these. And we, of course, resisted. Age 12, we got her a clamshell phone, which she detested. But she learned how to text without even looking. She'd have it underneath her desk at school. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, Jordan. But as you can see, her journey is probably taught me more than anything else in this whole FOSI work that we've been doing for nearly 20 years.
I think you've taught me so much in such a brief period of time on this call. So phones under the desk. I do remember those days because they weren't taking them just yet. You were supposed to leave them in your locker, and it was based on the honor system, but people still had Blackberries, so you could sneak it in your pocket.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff.
Well, and she had the phone at the time when there were 3 letters per number.
Yes.
You had to tap 1, 2, or 3 to get the particular letter.
Yeah.
And she could do that without looking at speed underneath in disguise.
It was a skill set.
She was very, very skilled at it. And we discovered, probably it was her sophomore year at high school, then we discovered that she was basically majoring in Facebook and texting rather than geography or history. And I also discovered the Verizon phone bill, which allowed me to see every time she texts, not the texts themselves, but literally whether she was texting in the middle of her geography lesson. And
Wow, I completely forgot about that, that you could actually see when texts were sent.
yeah, and listen, in the early days, we got her on the 400 texts per month scheme, which we thought was way too much anyway.
Good
How
luck.
was she going to get? Well, she blew past that in the first week
Of course.
and begged for the unlimited plan, which, you know, Dad, everyone's got that. Everyone's on unlimited. I'm the only one, usual. So, of course, not of course, but we did give way, and obviously the text messages that were over the 400 limit were costing her and us, and so it seemed like a ridiculous thing to try and limit.
So what was the prompt really for getting the phone? Was it because you needed to stay in touch? Because people are talking about phones in the early 2000s as if it was like the new toy, but people forget that there was an actual need for phones for some kids. So let the audience know, was this a like, oh, everyone's getting their kids a phone, let's try it out? Or was this, oh, we need to keep in touch with her, she's getting a little bit more independent kind of decision?
She was quite the social butterfly, and also we had just moved her from a middle school in another part of where we were living in Maryland to the local high school, and she didn't really know many people, and she kept saying, "I'm being left out of conversations, and I'm not getting invited to parties and to cookouts because I don't have a phone." And we dumb parents said, "Well, they can call the home phone." you know, and she would just roll her eyes as if to say, "What, and send smoke signals?" You know, so it just, I guess the thing that convinced us was that, and also we had moved transatlantically a few years before. We didn't want her left out. And she was running track and doing stuff after school. So it made sense for us to get her a phone.
It seems like you all had a really good balance between having her in, as they call it, in real life, the physical aspects, while also providing her the Sims and the phone and things like that. How do you think times have changed where parents don't feel like there's a good way to balance texting, social media, outside, volunteering, school, like all the things. Whereas the difference for, when you had kids in the early 2000s.
I think every generation must feel this, but I feel like we or she was part of a huge social experiment of having all of this technology just explode in the middle of her teen years. And this was back in the time when, let's face it, uh, you know, Facebook and Twitter were seen as a force for good. And this is something that was going to liberate, um, the Middle East with the Arab Spring. So technology had a very shiny glow to it in those years, and so there wasn't the kind of tech backlash that we're feeling and sensing now. And sometimes, of course, with the backlash, the pendulum's gone too far the other way. Remembering the other parents of her friends and so on, we would have these discussions. Almost everyone would eventually say, well, we don't want our child to be left out of social circles. And we want to be able to contact them when and if needed. And of course, in this country, we have just the epidemic of school shootings and other horrendous things that can possibly happen. So there was definitely a fear base to that desire to be able to reach out to your kids at any time. But also, I think a general sense that digital technology was a force for good and would allow them to access information and help them with their schoolwork and all the rest of it. It was a mixed bag, shall we say. Now, when I look in on it, and I'm watching my older daughter struggle to keep her phone away from her daughter, I think the struggle is going to be a lot harder. That's not to say that this next generation of parents won't adapt and these kids won't adapt, because every generation does. but the challenges are going to be greater because not only are screens everywhere all the time, they also come with AI as well. And that's just another layer of complexity that I guess we could get into.
So how do you now stay connected with your kids who are now adults? Is there like a certain period of time where you're like, let's connect, but not on screens, or let's connect through screens? Is it a different kind of balance now that you have young adults?
So it's a mixture. So with my older daughter in England, WhatsApp, for instance, is a godsend. I mean, we can just talk and talk without any charge. Obviously, we can do a video call, so I get to see my granddaughter, who is adorable and knows exactly what to do with a camera and with a phone at 1.5, and is waving and is showing me things. She's known about that since maybe when she was crawling. Now, for my younger daughter, obviously we phone or we text and we do, lots of the usual variety of things. But something I will say is that I'm not sure how it got started, but we're both on TikTok and we send each other, I don't know, half a dozen TikToks per day. And I'll sort of last thing at night, I'll review what she sent me over and comment. And then I'll send her half a dozen and then she'll react to them. And it's just a kind of wonderful way of communicating without talking or texting. It's hard to describe what that is, but we do have this connection. And every now and then in real life, we'll go, oh, yeah, wasn't that really ridiculous? That one with the bear and the ski? I don't know. It Lots of random stuff that come through on TikTok. But also, there's a lot of motivational stuff and there's a lot of, psychological stuff and there's heartwarming stuff that we share. And it's kind of special.
I love that. So, speaking of the work that you do, I love seeing you as a parent, but also as a boss. Question for you: did you take the parenting quiz that is on our website?
Oh, I think I did, but I don't recall right now what the answer was.
I'm going to guess your archetype, and I
Oh,
believe you are a mentor, just like our previous guests, Yana and obviously Yasi, based on the way that you have open communication and dialogue with your daughters, and the way that they are now, and just freely sending you TikToks and having that communication, not communication. You seem very much like a mentor kind of parent and grandparent.
well, I'll take that. Thank you. Do I get a badge? Or give us something
We should start
in
issuing
red badges?
bags to
Definitely.
the parents who are taking those quizzes. Oh, I love this. Well, this was so fun, Stephen. But before I let you go, I do need to ask, what parenting advice, not as Stephen Balkam, the CEO and founder, but Stephen Balkam as the dad who's raised two daughters and now has a granddaughter, what advice are you leaving these digital parents who feel helpless and overwhelmed? And you know that every generation has something they have to deal with.
Funny enough, I was on TikTok the other day, and there's a particular psychologist who posts on a regular basis. She works with couples. And something she really struck me with, and something I definitely failed to do at times when our daughter was younger, and that is you and your spouse, you and your partner, you're a team, you're part of a team. And make sure that you're a team player when you're coming to that, figuring out what are the rules, what are the boundaries, what are the consequences, and then sharing that with your kids and involving them in the rule setting so that everyone is on the same team. So there isn't this kind of confrontational struggle that I think we got ourselves into almost on a daily basis, so that it became a much bigger issue than it needed to be. So be a team player. I guess that's the simple way of putting it.
Amazing. All right. Now that I've spoken to Stephen Balcom, the dad and the grandfather, I'd love to talk to you as the founder and CEO. But first, let's talk to the listener. Tell the audience what your favorite episode so far has been. And you can give away a little bit of spoilers if you heard more than episode 3 of season 1.
Gosh, there's been so much. And what was the one that involves snacks? I remember there was a lot of talk about snacks.
Episode 2.
Yeah, I really apart from the overemphasis on snacks, I really did enjoy the conversation that went on there. And I do love the way in which you mix the hilarious with the informative. Congrats on that.
I appreciate that. Now, Stephen Balkam, as a founder and CEO, you said something very profound last week that put a smile on Yasi and I's face and the rest of the podcast team. So I would love if you could remember, just tell the audience why the podcast, why now, why should they keep listening? They meaning those digital parents out there.
Yeah, I think I remember saying as I was overhearing the end of one of your recordings that it really felt like you two were bringing our messaging, our policy work, our research, all the stuff that we do every day. You were really bringing it to life. And you were bringing it to life in a way that anyone could understand, anyone could relate to, because you yourselves are parents of young kids. You're in the struggle, you're in the moment. But I guess also you're bringing a sense of hope at the same time. You're not just saying, oh my God, this is terrible. Oh my God, we should shut it all down. And I wish we could go back to the 1990s, which, by the way, I wish we could go back to the really good music back then. But no, you're providing and giving people stuff to hold on to and things to use in a just straightforward, very human way that transcends stuff on a website.
Well, thank you, Stephen, and congratulations to you. This has been your brain child that we've turned into something fun that we love to do every week. So I appreciate the vote of confidence and the faith and the support, as always. Any tech that you are into or excited about or read about that you want to leave the digital parents with to put a smile on their face, like happy tech stories or maybe a fun TikTok that you saw that you sent to your daughter last night?
Oh gosh. I guess the ones that make me smile are the cross-generational dance routines where you get, basically it's mom and daughter, sometimes son as well. And then grandmom makes an appearance. And you got three generations all dancing on the front step of their house or in their backyard or whatever. That alone was worth the price of everything we've gone through to bring this technology to fruition. And I'm not denying there is considerable harm and risks involved and all the rest of it. But to see a family smiling, happy, dancing together, it's just wonderful. Oh, that plus the putting to music of random text messages, I've got to say is the most amazing trend at the moment on TikTok. If you haven't seen it already, it's hilarious.
It is pretty funny. My favorite is corporate Natalie doing her boss's Slack messages to emo music. It's pretty funny. Stephen, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining Moms Off Mute this week. The biggest takeaway that I have is dance with your kids. They'll love it. You don't necessarily have to put it on TikTok, but definitely dance with your kids and their grandparents.
Totally.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Listen every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jordan. I had Stephen Balkam, Family Online Safety Institute's founder and CEO, join us today. And we're so happy you keep listening. This podcast is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional advice, including medical, mental health, or legal guidance. The views expressed by hosts and or guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the Family Online Safety Institute, otherwise known as FOSI. Guest contributions are based on personal experience and are not intended as professional guidance. Any mention of products, services, organizations, or tools is for discussion purposes only and does not constitute an endorsement by the Family Online Safety Institute